Hello, and welcome back to the Cracking FAANG YouTube channel. Today we're going to be solving Leetcode problem 1304. Find n unique integers which sum up to 0. This is currently a really popular question with Microsoft, so if you have an upcoming Microsoft Onsite, this is definitely one to know, and it's actually a really easy question, so don't worry, let's go over it. Given an integer n, return any array containing n unique integers such that they add up to 0. For example, if we're given this input 5, we could return -7, -1, 1, 3, and 7. Why? Well, 3 and 7 add up to 7, which will counteract this -7, and then the -1 and the 1 will counteract each other, and we'll get a sum of 0, which is what we want, and we have used 5 numbers. And these are some other possible answers. What if we have 3? Well, we could have -1 and 1, which will cancel each other out, and then we have 0, which obviously is 0, so we get 0 at the end. So this problem looks like it might be really complicated because there's a lot of possible solutions here, and how do we figure out an easy solution? Well, let's think about this. And we'll use this kind of case here with the 3 to demonstrate a point. So what we notice that if it's odd, all we need is basically, a 0 and then some numbers on the right, which will cancel some numbers on the left. And the reason that we need the 0 is because we have odd, right? So we can't split it evenly because we're using integers, right? If we could use floating point numbers, then we could just split it in half so that the right side of the array would, be half of it and the left side would be the half. But since we can't do that because we have integers, we have to use a 0 in the case that it's a odd number. So what we want to do is we are always going to have 1 0 if it's odd. And then what we want to do is we just want to go, starting from 1 up until, n, where n is the total number of numbers that we're told to use. We're just going to add, whatever the current number that we're iterating, 1, and then its opposite, because that will cancel it out, right? 1 and -1 will cancel each other out. So that's why, this entire array is going to be 0. So let's say, we wanted to have 7 numbers. So then, the index would go up. So now we're at 2. And then we put 2 in here. And we also put -2. And then, okay, so now we used 5 numbers. All we need to do is now we go to the 3. And then we'll put a 3 in here. And we'll put -3. And there we go. We have 7 numbers here. And their sum is 0, right? Obviously, the 1 will get canceled by the -1, the -2 will cancel the regular 2, and then the -3 will cancel the 3. And then obviously we have the 0. If we sum all of this up, we will get 0, and there we go. So obviously this is the case where we have odd numbers. If we have an even number, then we don't need the 0 in our array. We can simply just do what we did here and only do it until, our array length is actually equal to n. So we'll start at 1. So we'll put -1 and 1 into the array. Then we're going to put, -2 and 2 in the array. And then, if we wanted, 4 total elements, there you go. That's your answer. So super simple. Hopefully this kind of conceptual portion made sense. If not, once we go into the code editor and I write it out, you're going to be like, wow, this is the easiest question ever. How is Microsoft asking this? Maybe you'll get it as a warm-up or like a phone screen question because it is really simple, but still want to know, really easy to memorize. Anyway, let's go to the code editor, write this out, and you'll see just how simple it is. I'll see you there. We're back in the code editor. Let's write the code. Remember that our output is going to be an array of these n numbers that add up to 0. So we need to define that data structure. So we're going to say result is going to be an empty list. Now remember that if it's an odd number, then we always want to include 0 as one of the numbers. And the rest will be, numbers that are complements of each other. So like 1 and -1, 2 and -2, until we get to basically n numbers. So we need to actually check whether or not n is even or odd. So we're going to say if n modulo 2 is basically not 0, what we want to do is we want to insert a 0 into our result. So we're going to say res.append 0. Now what we need to do is, remember, we just need to find those complements. So, we'll get 1, -1, 2, -2, 3, -3, -4, and 4. And what we want to do is just do that however many times until we basically get n numbers in our array. So we're going to get, basically pairs here. So what that's going to look like, since we're adding 2 each time, we actually don't need to go all the way from 1 to n. We just need to go from 1 to n divided by 2, and that's going to be integer division. And that way we will just, when the loop breaks, then we will just simply return our answer, because that will be a total of n elements, including the 0 that we added if it's an odd number. So we're going to say for I in range 1 to n divided by 2 plus 1. Remember that we need the plus 1 because ranges are not inclusive on the endpoint. So we need that plus 1 to make sure that we actually get that last element, because we do need to get whatever n divided by 2 is in the actual computation in order to get the right amount of elements. If you try it without the plus 1, your answer won't be right. If you don't believe me, try to submit it without the plus 1, and you'll see that we need it. So what we want to do now is, remember, we're simply just going to append both these numbers to the result because they're going to cancel each other out, right? Whatever I is, if you add minus I to it, any number minus itself is always going to be 0, and that's what we want. We want to keep this sum equal to 0. So we're going to say res.append I, and then we're just going to say res.append minus I, and we don't care about the order here. As long as the final result adds up to 0, that's all Leetcode cares about. And I think at the end, it's just going to do a sum over whatever array that you return, and as long as it equals to 0, you're good to go. The numbers inside don't matter. So what we want to do is simply return our result once our loop ends. That's all we need to do. So let's submit this, make sure it works, and it does. Cool. So what is the time and space complexity of this algorithm? Well, we can see that what we need to do is we need to build this result, and what we would do here is we're iterating from 1 to whatever n minus 2 is. So technically our time complexity is going to be big O of n divided by 2. But asymptotically, this is just going to be the same as big O of n. We can consider it big O of n. Space-wise, we're going to have to store n elements, so our space is going to be big O of whatever n is here. There's no way for us to get around this. We have to return n elements in our result, so that's why it's going to be big O of n. So that is your time and space complexity for this algorithm. Again, it's super simple. Look at this. I think it's literally 10 lines of code, and that includes white spaces here. So super simple, really easy. I think that once you watch this video, you can probably even memorize this and just regurgitate how to actually do it, because it's so straightforward. Hopefully this video helps you. If you see this in a Microsoft interview and you've watched this video, you'll be like, yes, thank God I watched this video. Now I know how to solve this problem. I'm passing that interview. I'm getting that job at Microsoft. So if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If there's any videos you'd like for me to make, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd be happy to make them for you guys. It doesn't just have to be coding videos. It can be like, what's it like to work at insert FAANG company here, or what's the culture like at this company, or what is the leveling at this company look like. Just let me know what you want to see. I'll try to use my experience working at a few FAANG companies if I can. Obviously, if you ask for a company that I haven't worked at, then I'll have to do some research, talk to some friends. I do have a lot of connections in the industry, so they'll be able to give me that information, and I can pass that on to you guys. So, like I said, if you want to see anything, just leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, thank you for watching this video. Thanks for listening to my little ramble there, and have a good evening. Bye.